At 5 a.m., Semmel's alarm sounds, prompting him to wake up. He gazes out his bedroom window, taking in the tasteful decor and refreshing air. After washing his face, he reflects on his journey with gratitude. Today, his son Mahmut as usual will join him at work, adding to the day's significance. As he drives through his neighborhood, memories of his modest beginnings and ambitious aspirations flood his mind. His hard work has paid dividends, evident in the opulent restaurant he now arrives at. Semmel takes pride in his establishment's success as it represents his resilience and perseverance. Once inside, Semmel is overjoyed to see familiar faces amongst his loyal patrons. His restaurant has become a community hub, a place where individuals can gather to enjoy great cuisine and each other's company. The lasting impact he has made fills him with appreciation. Semmelette Restaurant is the culmination of his aspirations. He had manifested it long ago and now it stands before him in all its grandeur. During his childhood in Turkey, he had faced financial hardships and had to work at an old restaurant to make ends meet. Despite being hailed as a thriving restaurateur, the backstory of relentless hard work and determination remains a secret to many. He dedicates himself wholeheartedly to provide his customers with an unforgettable dining experience. From the exquisite decorations to the tantalizing dishes, everything is crafted with great attention to detail. As he surveys the crowded restaurant, after giving instructions to his staff, he catches sight of a stunning woman, momentarily distracting him from his thoughts. He has a thing for beautiful women, and this one is no exception. Having led a bachelor's life, he has attracted many young beauties, a fact that he finds satisfying. He confidently approaches the woman, using his charm and charisma to win her over. His words flow effortlessly, knowing exactly what to say to make her say yes. He engages her in witty banter, teasing and making her laugh and feel comfortable in his presence. He relishes the thrill of the seduction game, feeling completely in his element. A few streets away from the restaurant, Yasmin, a stunning woman in her 40s who is a beloved mathematics instructor at a local high school, leaves the staff room to the library. She passes some students who are reading in the library. Her passion for teaching is a true blessing that she holds dear to her heart. Saisak, Yasmin's daughter, is a high school senior attending the same institution where Yasmin teaches. She cherishes the ability to keep a watchful eye on her daughter. She holds the belief that the key to safeguarding one's children is by developing a friendly relationship with them. This approach provides her with access to the events taking place in their lives. Being a single parent, Yasmin has raised her daughter independently. Saisak's father has been mostly absent from her life, contributing solely to her financial needs. Despite the obstacles, Yasmin is a devoted educator and loving mother, determined to give her daughter the best possible life. After an uneventful day at school, both Yasmin and Saisak are home. Yasmin engages in a phone conversation with her sister regarding their mother's well-being. Meanwhile, she notices that Saisak is fully absorbed in her laptop, which leads her to suspect that her daughter may be chatting with someone. As a protective mother, Yasmin is cognizant of the fact that Saisak is only 17 years old and that there are men out there who may take advantage of her daughter's innocence. Consequently, Yasmin gets up from her seat and sits next to Saisak, intending to pry into her daughter's chat conversation. Yasmin takes the laptop from her daughter playfully but with purpose and begins to scrutinize the chat conversation. Her suspicion is confirmed, as Saisak is indeed chatting with a boy. Upon discovering that her daughter is chatting with someone named Mahmut, whom she recently befriended, Saisak's mother takes a look at the chat. She starts responding to the messages in order to confirm the person's identity, concerned for her daughter's safety. The next scene shows Semmel descending the stairs and notices a live football match playing on the television. However, his son is engrossed in chatting with a girl named Saisak on his laptop. Upon examining their conversation, Semmel realizes that his son is not saying the right things to impress Saisak. Determined to help his son win Saisak's heart and set a date for them, Semmel decides to intervene by posing as his son and using his way with words to captivate her. He engages in a conversation with Saisak, hoping to charm her with his wit and personality. Unbeknownst to Semmel, the person at the other end responding to their chat is actually Saisak's mother. As he continues to converse with Saisak, he remains oblivious to the fact that he is not actually talking to the girl he is trying to impress, but her mom. As Yasmin engages in the exchange of text messages with this individual posing as a 19-year-old, she experiences a growing sense of suspicion that something is amiss. Gradually, it dawns on her that this may be a case of catfishing, with a grown man attempting to deceive her daughter. She decides to probe further, asking the individual about their age. Initially, the person responds by indicating they are 44 years old, confirming Yasmin's suspicions. However, later the individual changes their story and reverts back to being 19 years old. She ponders her next move, after noticing her daughter has gone to her room, distracted and disinterested in the chat. She realizes that this may be her chance to confront the catfisher. Despite her overwhelming anger and frustration, Yasmin agrees to meet with the individual the following day. She is determined to expose and humiliate whoever is behind the screen for daring to prey on her daughter's vulnerability and trust. The next day, Semmel is overseeing his staff at work, managing fully booked reservations while his son Mahmut assists the head chef in the kitchen. Semel is anticipating the arrival of his son's date, who he had helped his son win over. This would be Mehmet's first official date. However, when a woman enters the room, the situation takes an unexpected turn. She immediately causes a scene, shouting and drawing the attention of everyone present. Accusing Semel of being a pervert and catfishing a young teen, Semel soon realizes that the woman he thought was his son's date is actually her mother. Despite his embarrassment and attempts to respond to the woman's insults, she refuses to hear him out. Meanwhile, Mehmet looks on in visible embarrassment, as he wasn't aware his father had carried with the messages and even booked a reservation. After witnessing the unfortunate scenario, Mehmet decides to talk to Sisek about what had happened. He informs her that he had no knowledge of his father's plan to set up a date with her, which turned out to be her mom. This plan had ultimately caused a great deal of embarrassment to his dad. While they are chatting, Sisek asks Mehmet to turn on his webcam so that she can see him. When he does so, Sisek's mother appears on the screen standing next to her daughter. Mehmet recognizes her as the same woman who had caused a scene at the restaurant. Suddenly, Mehmet's father arrives and sees Yasmin, Sisek's mother, on his son's screen. He becomes angry and demands an apology from her for causing him embarrassment at work. The situation becomes tense, and tempers rise as Mehmet's father and Yasmin exchange heated words. Yasmin accidentally chokes on her food while Semel's suit accidentally gets caught on fire as he is in the kitchen standing close to the cooking burner. In a matter of hours on that same day, Yasmin comes to the realization that she may have overstepped her bounds. She decides to visit the restaurant to make amends with Mehmet's father. When Yasmin arrives at the restaurant, Mehmet and his father are seated by the opposite side of herself and Sisek, and she is visibly embarrassed. Without hesitation, Yasmin apologizes and demands that Semel does the same. Semel disagrees with Yasmin's request as he feels that he was not the one who initiated the insult. Yasmin becomes agitated with Semel's refusal to apologize and leaves the restaurant with her daughter in a huff. Years ago, in Turkey, it's customary for young men seeking livelihood to be encouraged to get married. Semel followed this tradition and married Meltem, whom he barely knew. Semel had big dreams, but Meltem had an opposite mindset, which caused a significant rift in their marriage. Slowly, Semel began to resent her for limiting and belittling his vision. After a few months, Semel realized that staying married to Meltem would impede his dreams. He wanted to travel to big cities and pursue his goals. They separated, and Semel was later informed that Meltem was pregnant. However, he had always told her that he did not want children, so he knew she did it to lure him into the marriage. Semel messaged Meltem, reiterating that he was not ready to be a father and had no interest in remaining with her. For 18 years, he played his fatherly role by sending money for his son's welfare. Meltem remarried, and Mehmet grew up under his stepfather. Over time, Mehmet became aware of his father's wealth and influence and left his mother to travel and meet Semel. Semel welcomed his son but still struggled with the concept of fatherhood. A lot is happening presently in Semel's life. He has just purchased a new building and is in the process of renovating it, which is costing him a considerable amount of money. He isn't feeling too well. The landlord of his restaurant has increased the rent again, and it's exorbitantly high. Semel intends to move his restaurant to this new building as soon as it's ready, but he needs ample time to complete the renovations. Semel isn't in the best frame of mind. His ex-wife, Meltem, calls him and asks about an incident that occurred at the restaurant with Yasmin. Meltem's son informs her of the incident and she warns Semel to be careful about what he does around their son. Hearing this enraged Semel, and he retorts, reminding Meltem that he never wanted to be a father. She maliciously got pregnant and insisted on keeping the child. Despite all of that, Semel is doing right by his son by teaching him the ropes of the business and providing him with money, comfort, and a better life. As Semel vents his frustrations, Mehmet is by the corner eavesdropping. Hearing what his father is saying breaks his heart and confirms all the suspicions he had harbored in his heart. During their break time in the staff room, the teachers discuss a plan to locate a suitable building for educational and recreational purposes for young students. After much searching, they find a building but realize it has already been purchased. They conduct an investigation on the buyer and discover it to be Semel Yilmaz, the proprietor of Semelet restaurant. As Yasmin and the other teachers scrutinize his profile, she becomes astonished by the coincidence and overhears the other women excitedly discussing him. Suddenly, Semel appears in front of the office, and the teachers exchange questioning looks. She excuses herself to have a conversation with him, and he requests to speak with her. He has come to apologize to her. Semel has been entranced by Yasmin since the moment he laid eyes on her. She occupies his thoughts and overwhelms him on a daily basis. At first, he believed it was merely a fleeting feeling of lust. He tries to keep his mind occupied by other things, but these feelings continue to persist and intensify with each passing day. He is aware this woman does not exactly like him. She may even hate him. He wakes up every morning with her on his mind. He's attracted to the idea that she's protective of her daughter, and fiery the mere thought of holding her close and kissing her sends chills down his spine. He never has such intense feelings for anyone and he is almost 50 years old. He convinces himself that such intense emotions are generally for teens. Nonetheless, Semel can't resist the urge to see her again. He needs a pretext, so he comes up with an apology as a reason to reconnect with her. He locates her at her school, and when he catches sight of her seated with her coworkers in the faculty lounge, his heart misses a beat. He explains he is sorry for creating a scenario where she would feel scared over her daughter's safety. She accepts his apology. Yasemin's co-teachers noticed her speaking with Semel and suggested that she discusses giving up his newly acquired building. They were hoping to transform it into a space for educational and social activities for students. Yasemin agreed to meet Semel at his restaurant, but upon arrival, she discovered that he felt unwell and had taken the day off. Despite the setback, Yasemin contacted Semel and arranged to meet him at his residence instead. When she arrived, she found him wrapped in a blanket and looking quite ill. He welcomed her in. However, each time Yasemin attempted to broach her proposal, some other issue arose. At one point, Yasemin suggested that Semel try a traditional spice-based recipe to alleviate his flu symptoms. As he was too unwell to prepare it himself, she volunteered to make it for him. After consuming the brew, Semel dozed off, and Yasemin eventually fell asleep on the couch, exhausted from her long day. Later that evening, Mahmut arrived home from work and was taken aback to see Saisik's mother seated on the couch with his father. He immediately contacted Saisik to report what he had witnessed. As Yasemin awakens, she realizes she is still at Semel's house with his hand resting on her chest. Flustered and embarrassed, she hastily grabs her bag and runs out. Upon her return home, Yasemin is greeted by her daughter's curious gaze, who asks where she is coming from. Yasemin, too embarrassed to say the truth, evades the questions. The very next day, Semel reaches out to Yasemin to thank her for her kind visit and assistance with helping fix home remedy for his flu. He extends an invitation for a private dinner at the restaurant, exclusively tailored to Yasemin's preferences. Yasemin accepts, and Semel is thrilled at the prospect of spending more time with her. When the restaurant finally closes for the evening, Semel prepares an elaborate dinner with fine wine and exquisite dishes. Yasemin arrives and Semel is immediately struck by her beauty, captivated by her presence. As they share stories of their past, Semel recounts his journey of moving to Istanbul as a young man of 24. He lived with Fifrit, a meatball seller, in a small room. When Fifrit fell ill, Semel purchased the space with a significant loan. Driven by his ambition and tenacity, he transformed the humble eatery into a thriving restaurant by sheer willpower. Yasemin usually keeps her past private, but with Semel, she feels comfortable opening up. While discussing her education and career as a teacher, Semel asks about Saisik's father. Reluctantly, Yasemin shares the painful story of her husband leaving her for a younger woman after a short marriage. Surprisingly, Semel shares a similar experience, but in his case, he was the one who initiated the separation from his ex-wife. The dinner ends on a good note. Few days later, Semel, a busy man, finds himself growing bored during a conversation with a young lady he had been interested in a few months ago. He can't seem to remember what had attracted him to her. While she is young and beautiful, she doesn't compare to Yasemin, who is both nurturing and lovely. Yasemin calls him, informing him she had a proposal to make to him. He invites her to his home so they can talk without interruption. He truly enjoys spending time with her. Meanwhile, Yasemin has been persuaded by colleagues to intervene with Semel about the building that he owns. They want to use it to create a student structure for the community. Despite his hopes that Yasemin would come alone, Semel discovers that 3 of her colleagues will be joining them. When they arrive at his home, the women can see the disappointment on his face. Over dinner, they get straight to the matter at hand. The group discusses the significance of constructing a structure that will positively impact students in the area. However, despite their efforts, Semel ultimately declined their request. He explains that the building is crucial to his business, and he has always envisioned having his restaurant there. The women leave, visibly disappointed that they couldn't persuade him to change his mind. Saisik suspects her mother of being in love with Semel. She observes how her mother blushes when talking to him, takes better care of her skin, and pays more attention to how she looks. Every time she asks her about her friendship with Mahmut's dad, her mother is evasive and changes the subject. Her suspicion is confirmed when Mahmut calls to inform her that he saw her mum lying down on the couch next to Semel at their house. Saisik is happy that her mother is in love, but she is also scared. Since her father left them 7 years ago, she has seen how broken her mother became. She's scared of what will happen if Semel does the same. Yasmin experienced a devastating event 7 years ago when her husband abandoned her and their daughter. This made her feel hurt and disillusioned, and she decided to never let her heart be vulnerable again. Despite focusing on her daughter, career, and friends, Yasmin felt like something was missing from her life. However, everything changed when she met Semel. He was unlike anyone she had ever met, making her feel cherished and appreciated. Despite his constant displays of affection, Yasmin remained cautious about fully opening up to him. Currently, Mahmut is at the airport, feeling a sense of sorrow as he observes the hustle and bustle around him. He spends the past 3 days with a friend, but his father never checks on him or inquires about his whereabouts. He didn't even notice his absence. It's as though his father does not know of his existence. Mahmut yearns for a sense of belonging, growing up with his mother and stepfather. However, his mother's remarriage made him feel invisible, causing him great pain. His father is no better, never making an effort to stay in touch or visit. Mahmut couldn't bear living with his mother any longer. He felt unwanted, so he left to stay with his father. When he first saw him, his father did not recognize him and had to introduce himself. His father didn't show any form of excitement. While he allowed Mahmut to stay at his house and work at his restaurant, he related to him as a staff member. He didn't provide the love and care that Mahmut craved. His father even became irate when referred to as a father in public, leaving Mahmut feeling like a burden. Things went from bad to worse when his father started seeing Yasmin. Mahmut felt invisible and unwanted, and his father didn't care whether he came home or not. Mahmut decided to leave and go to a different city to stay with a friend. Fortunately, Semel learned about Mahmut's plan when his friend contacted him. This broke his heart, and it finally dawned on him how neglectful he had been as a father. Semel apologizes and promises to make it up to his son by being an intentional father, to love and support him. After a busy day, arriving home, Yasmin takes note of a car parked outside of her residence. She observes a young woman occupying the driver's seat. After entering her house, she finds her ex-husband conversing with their daughter, Sisik. The sight of him triggers a flood of memories and feelings of insecurity that he previously inflicted upon her. As a result of his actions, she finds it difficult to place trust in men. She once loved him deeply, but he shattered her heart. Despite confronting him about his behavior, he remains unchanged and unapologetic. After the incident, Yasmin chooses to spend the evening with Semel, and while they snuggle up, Semel excuses himself to retrieve something from the kitchen. When he leaves, his phone chimes, prompting Yasmin to check the message. She discovers that it contains a nude photo from a young woman. Following her interaction with her ex-husband Erdal, Yasmin's anxiety about men resurfaces, and she fears experiencing similar heartbreak again. Nevertheless, she is aware of what actions she must take to protect herself. She decides to leave for her mother's house on the outskirts. It's obvious Semel is seeing a younger woman and she has no strength to fight back. Sisik calls Mahmut to inform him that her mum is packing up to leave. Mahmut, in turn, tells his dad, who is surprised to hear this. He drives speedily to Yasmin's home and his biggest fears are confirmed. She's indeed leaving. He gets to her as she is about to enter the taxi, and holds her hand as he manages to stop her from leaving by promising to take her himself after they both talk. She agrees to this. In a secluded spot, Semel expresses his deep feelings to Yasmin. He cannot bear the thought of losing her as she means everything to him. Yasmin, however, confides in him about the anguish caused by the person she loved the most. This person had shattered her self-esteem and left her with a child, Erdal, her ex-husband, so she cannot afford to go through the anguish again. Yasmin views Semel as an attention lover who relishes a fast-paced lifestyle, while she desires a peaceful home away from the hustle and bustle of the city. Semel, who knows she's speaking out of fear, is trying to prove his love and commitment by going on one knee, opening a box containing a ring and proposing to Yasmin to stay with him forever. Despite feeling torn, Yasmin kisses him passionately before pulling away to listen to her head over her heart. She walks away, heartbroken, knowing that Semel is her true love. After Yasmin's departure, Semel has been a mere shell of his former self, consumed by his longing for her every day. The things that once held such importance to him now seem devoid of meaning. His mind fills with being with Yasmin, the love of his life. Despite her dislike of a fast-paced lifestyle, he is ready to compromise to find a way to be with her. Semel has come to the realization that all his wealth and luxury hold no value if he cannot share them with the person he loves most. As such, he is strategizing on how to make Yasmin a permanent part of his life. Yasmin's school associates receive notification that they have been granted permission by Semel to construct a building for their students. This is the proposal they submitted to Semel. They are told that an authorized vehicle is available to transport them to the location for examination. When they got there, they called Yasmin to express gratitude for her efforts towards securing the building from Semel. Despite not having spoken to Semel in some time, Yasmin is touched by his benevolence, as thoughts of him still linger in her heart. She misses him dearly. Semel at his restaurant with his personal lawyer, having a discussion about important legal matters. Suddenly, he asks his son Mahmut to join them. Mahmut is surprised to be called into the meeting. Semel informs Mahmut that he needs him to sign some documents. Though unsure about the situation, Mahmut trusts his father and agrees to sign the papers. However, he remains unaware of the content of the documents. After Mahmut signs the papers, Semel discloses that he is transferring ownership of the restaurant to his son. Mahmut is taken aback by this news as he never expected his father to let go of his beloved investment and asset. Mahmut listens in silence as Semel explains his reasoning. His father believes that Mahmut will do an excellent job as he himself started the restaurant at the same age. Semel has experienced life-changing moments over the past few months. Since meeting Yasmin, he has undergone tremendous personal growth, introspecting and becoming a better person. He has become an intentional father to his son, taking on the role of a guide and mentor, and providing love and encouragement. This brings him a sense of fulfillment. Despite sacrificing his most cherished asset, he remains incredibly happy. His decision to go after Yasmin, the love of his life, has led him to this point, where he puts others before himself or his wants. Upon arriving at the house with a bouquet of flowers, he is mistaken for an intruder by Yasmin's mother and hit with a stone. Realizing Yasmin is not present, he waits for her in the garden outside. After a while, Yasmin arrives and her eyes reveal the depth of her love for him. She runs to him. He pulls her into a warm embrace, knowing that everything he has given up to be with her is worth it. He has found his home with the woman of his dreams, Yasmin. He immediately knows that he will spend the rest of his life with her.